Good morning. I thought it was time to look at a psalm again. We have been working our way through book 4 in the book of Psalms. That runs from Psalm 90 to Psalm 106. Just to review the first three Psalms, Psalm 90 to 92, is Moses speaking to Israel while they're still in the desert. Moses basically says to Israel, hey, we're new at this. Let's learn from God. Oh God, teach us. Psalm 93 to Psalm 100 speaks repeatedly about God's kingship. God is king over Israel and king over the world. Psalm 101 to 103 is David speaking to his sons. It's like David was saying, okay, if God is king over the world, I'm king over Israel. Let me let you know, my sons, how to be king in light of God's kingship over the world. And then the final three Psalms, Psalm 104 to 106, talks about the creation, the world, and God's covenant. If God is king over all of the world, what does that mean for us who are not kings and not the king's son, but who do live in a relationship with God? Today, we're going to take a look at Psalm 95. So let me share my screen with you, and we'll start here in Psalm 95. Come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us shout joyfully to the rock of our salvation. Let us come to him with thanksgiving. Let us sing psalms of praise to him. For the Lord is a great God, a great king above all gods. He holds in his hands the depths of the earth and the mightiest mountains. The sea belongs to him, for he made it. His hand formed the dry land too. Now, this is a seasonal psalm for me. Look at this. Let's come to him with thanksgiving. Thursday of this week is going to be Thanksgiving. This is a psalm that tells us to give thanks and what to give thanks for. The first thing that the psalmist says that we should give thanks for is God is a great God. He has created the earth, the world that we live in. He holds in his hands the depths of the earth. He holds in his hands the mountains, the seas, the dry land. As we look around this psalm, we notice two things. These themes are repeated. The theme of God as King, Creator, and Lord of the entire world is a repeated theme. We go back to Psalm 93 and we see it there. Psalm 93:1, the Lord is king. He's robed in majesty. Indeed, the Lord is robed in majesty and armed with strength. The world stands firm and cannot be shaken. God stands over the world. Same psalm, verses 3 and 4. The floods have risen up, O Lord. The floods have roared like thunder. The floods have lifted their pounding waves. But mightier than the violent raging of the seas, mightier than the breakers on the shore, the Lord above is mightier than these. God has created the world, but he stands above the world. He is mightier than the world. A few psalms later, Psalm 97. Again, the first verse, the Lord is king. Let the earth rejoice. Let the farthest coastlands be glad. The dark clouds surround him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Fire spreads ahead of him and burns up all his foes. His lightning flashes out across the world. The earth sees and trembles. The mountains melt like wax before the Lord of all the earth. The heavens proclaim his righteousness. Every nation sees his glory. God has created this world around us. But let's take a look at Psalm 95 again, starting in verse 6. Come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God. We are the people he watches over, the flock under his care. Now, the rest of the psalm, the psalmist can't help, once he talks about this, to say to Israel, don't do what your ancestors did. Don't ignore God. But the point here is that God is Savior of Israel. Not only is he the king over all the world, the Lord and master of the entire world, he is also the Savior of Israel. Now, again, looking around Psalm 95, Psalm 94, verse 1 and 2. The Lord, the God of vengeance, O God of vengeance, let your glorious justice shine forth. Arise, O judge of the earth. Give the proud what they deserve. First element of salvation is actually a physical component. God brings justice to those who are needing justice. Same Psalm, verse 12. Joyful are those who you discipline, Lord, those you teach with your instructions. And then verse 14, the Lord will not reject his people. He will not abandon his special possession. God comes to Israel and he rescues them. Psalm 97, verse 10, you who love the Lord, hate evil because he protects the lives of his godly people. He rescues them from the power of the wicked. Light shines on the godly and joy on those whose hearts are right. May all who are godly rejoice in the Lord and praise his holy name. Psalm 98, the first two verses, sing a new song to the Lord, for he's done wonderful deeds. His right hand has won a mighty victory. His holy arm has shown his saving power. The Lord has announced his victory and has revealed his righteousness to every nation. God's salvation is available to Israel and indeed to any who searches for God. Psalm 99, verse 4, Almighty King, lover of justice, you have established fairness. You have acted with justice and righteousness throughout Israel. Then later in verse 8, O Lord our God, you answered them. You were a forgiving God, but you punished them when they went wrong. Two things. God is Lord over all the earth, but he is also our Savior. He has the power to control the earth. He has the power to judge us when we do wrong. But he chooses to show us his mercy. He chooses to forgive. He chooses to teach us how to live. This year, during Thanksgiving, make sure you take time to look around. Thank the Lord for the world that he's given you, for the creation that surrounds you. And then think about your salvation. Think about your relationship with him. The second repeated theme, I mentioned that there were two. The first are the theological themes of God as creator and God as savior. The second is our response to that. Rejoice. Sing a new song. Give thanks. This Thanksgiving, give thanks.